Hello, Peter for Sun Zero here, Sirus, and welcome to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn Tower Run Highlights and Lowlights. I just recently done a Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn Tower Run. I thought I would just post it online and share it with everyone, but I think I don't really want to upload all the footage on there because it's like 4 hours long. So yeah, so I decided to compress it and highlight the great moments I got through this run and the very not so great moments I got through this run. Oh, anyway, let's get started. Okay, the first highlight is strangely enough before any battles actually start. The first highlight is me being really surprised with the Makhaya I actually got built up to this point, because usually Makhaya is usually the weak point of my playthrough of Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, but for this playthrough, she actually turned out really good. I mean, her magic and resistance and her usual stats that really strong are pretty strong as well. But in this run, she actually has a good amount of speed. This is really surprising to me, since whenever I go through a playthrough of Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, Makhaya's speed usually really sucks. So I'm really surprised that Makhaya actually has decent speed on this playthrough. She even got enough speed to double the generals in the first endgame stage and not get doubled by the sword masters in the second run. That's really surprising for me, so I thought I would highlight that. And so yeah. The second highlight for me is during endgame stage 1, where Alyssa actually does stun twice on the same enemy. The stun is a mastery skill, and it's kind of like a critical rate where it doesn't really activate all that often, but when it does, it's pretty lethal. So like critical rates, mastery skill, enemy won't usually survive one attack, so it's really rare for enemy to actually survive a mastery skill, and the only reason why a general was able to survive this mastery skill because Alyssa isn't all that strong. She can hit multiple times, but she's not really a powerhouse. But Alyssa was able to activate stun twice, so I think that by itself is a highlight. The third highlight is me actually winning stage 2. Usually I don't really have much trouble with stage 2 on the endgame, but this is pretty different because I forgot to give Ike items to heal himself if he ever got in trouble duking it out with the Black Knight. Yeah, you can probably guess how well that went. I was really panicky when I saw that Ike was on the disadvantage side. And to add, the Black Knight has Imbue, which heals his HP equal to the amount of magic he has, which is 18, and Ike does only 13 damage to him. So in order for me to actually do any significant damage to him, I have to hit him on my turn, and then he has to hit me on his turn, which does 26 damage, and then he heals by 18. So you can guess where this is going. And my Ike wasn't fast enough to actually double him. Oh man, was I panicking. I was blanking out, and then I remember I still had the support combo bonuses with Oscar. That was my only chance for victory. So I moved Oscar up as near as I can, get Ike near there, then I got enough avoid bonus to actually dodge the Black Knight. He dodged it, and then Ike got in a critical. Oh man, did that save me! And then I was able to KO him at the next turn. So overall, I was really surprised I was able to turn that around. So yeah. The next highlight on this tower run is the amount of criticals I actually got in the third stage. I was surprised that I was getting critical over critical in this stage. I mean, the critical rate I usually only have is like 10%, excluding Maya having a killing edge, which raises her critical rate to 60%. But most of the critical rates on the other units is only really 10 and 1. So I was really surprised of seeing my units getting critical after critical after critical, and this is really only in this one stage. Ironically, this is also the stage where I had killed and had to restart, but I still think it's really a noteworthy thing to say because of how critical happy my units were in this stage, even though I lost. Another highlight that I seem to notice, well, that seems to reoccur during this particular run, is that Ilyana seemed to be killing a lot of the bosses in this run. Levin, Digensia, and Saffron to be exact. And I wasn't really trying to kill the bosses with Ilyana, it just sort of happened that way. Just as with Levin, I was trying to kill him with Makhaya since she seemed to be able to double, but deactivate resolve, which means Makhaya didn't have enough speed in order to double him. So I had to go in with Ilyana and kill him with Rexbolt. Same thing as Digensia. Well, I was really planning on killing Digensia with Ilyana because of Thunder Magic, but Saffron wasn't really planning on destroying him with Ilyana, it just sort of happened that way. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty neat thing well, that's a neat thing for me to notice when I was going through the videos. And that's basically all the highlights that I got during this tower run. Nothing in particular happened in the final stage, so let's move on to the low points, which there is a few. The first two low points of this tower run both occur in the first stage. The first low point is that I misread Strength for Magic. Yeah, Strength for Magic. And you don't really think this would be all that big of a deal because of battle calculations and you already know what attack, how much attack the enemy is going to do. This has got to do with that mage who has a sleep staff at the top right, well, at the top of the map, and I misread his range, how much range he actually has, so I actually got Ike to move up where he had range. I personally thought he had like 9 range, but in fact he had 13. And let's just say it didn't really end all that well for Ike. I mean, he survived, but barely, really barely. So yeah, a real low point for me. The second low point that also occurred in stage 1 of endgame is me forgetting about that chest at the top left corner where Locane is basically. For most of the map I was really mostly concentrated on getting rid of enemies since there's really so many enemies at the first stage. The first stage probably is the longest stage in endgame. And just at the end of the chapter, in the enemy phase where he's about to attack Ike, I just remembered that I didn't got that chest open. So I was really hoping Ike wouldn't ether him, so I can move Ike out of the way, get Soph to actually open the chest, then end the stage. But what do you know? Ike ethered him at the first chance. So yeah, I got really upset that I wasn't able to get the chest. But I decided not to end the stage, mostly because the Matrona staff, which is the thing in the top left corner, isn't really all that important, so yeah. The third low point for me is, well, you basically the same thing as the third high point, which is the Black Knight stage. Because I got really careless in this stage because I forgot to give Ike any healing items. So if I didn't got that critical on the Black Knight, I was probably lost. So that's both a highlight and low point for me, because low point that I actually got into that situation in the first place, but a high point that I actually got out of that situation. And the fourth low point of this tower run for me is obviously the Death Rios. So here's the Death Rios for your enjoyment. Okay, to end this video, I'm going to go through the unit records. Because when you get down to it, I was really surprised at the unit records. But most notably, my MVP. Most notably, who actually made it into the MVP and who actually didn't made it into the MVP. But I'll tell you that when the need arises. Oh yeah, Ike did not make it to the MVP, only having 60 wins. Absorb that in. Ike did not make to the MVP. Okay, so to my top 5, we have number 5 with Jill, having 162 battles and having 85 victories. This is gonna be surprising to you. Number 4 with Makhaya, the Light Priestess, having 132 battles and having 93 victories. Yeah, Makhaya made it to my top 5. I was shocked. Even though I played through the game, I was shocked that happened. And then you have Mia with 186 battles and 104 wins. And then you have the Daphne having 230 battles and having 104 wins. And who's my first, you ask? Ileana, the Arc Sage, having 172 battles and 121 wins. So yeah, overall I was really surprised at who actually made it to the MVP. Looking at my top 5 MVP, seems they're all female. Interesting.